was the best QB in the state of Florida. Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw, Sunday night, March 3rd. We're a few minutes late, but we're really like 45 minutes early because we were going to do this at 7, and so then we backed up to 6 and just had a few more minutes to play with tonight. So, Richie, how's your weekend been?
Good, man. A nice, relaxing day yesterday. Just went to my first NBA G League game. I'm the biggest Osceola Magic fan in the world now. I got my Mac McClain bobblehead. It was a giveaway today, which was awesome. But yeah, man, it was actually a lot of fun. But good to be here and talking, all things Florida State, as much or as little as going on right now.
We're gonna figure out a way to talk about it today here at Harlan. I can change that if I need to. There is actually one on there with it. We're live. It's all good. These people will live. See if we can get that one on there. Let's see.
Some great live show right here.
Yeah, I knew we had one. I knew we had one already saved. Harlan is like not in the studio somehow, but he is in the studio somehow. So I knew there was one on there, so I found it. We're good to go. All right, Double Fries No Slaw brought to you by Guthrie's. You can visit all 3 of their locations in Tallahassee, 1818 West Tennessee Street, 2550 North Monroe, and then 2870 Appalachie Parkway. Make sure that you are supporting the good folks over at Guthrie's. Appreciate them for all that they do. And getting, man, we're really not even that close, but we are getting somewhat closer to the spring game, which, I don't know, feels like it's an eternity away, but.
You going up for that, TJ?
Yes, absolutely. I think the last spring game that I missed was when. So there wasn't one in 2020, right? We didn't have a spring game. Or did we?
I don't think there was anyone in attendance if there was one.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't go to 2020. Either way, I don't think I went. 2021, I think I went to, and then 2022 as well. So yeah, wait, maybe I didn't go. But yeah, I was gonna say 2019. I don't think I went to because Atlanta was really little. Her first year, I don't know. But yeah, we've done tailgates for the last 2. Oh yeah, I definitely did 21 and 22. So that's what it was.
Yeah, that's spring game it's fun. It's tricky for me because it always falls on my anniversary weekend. I tell the story before on here, I believe, but my wife really wanted a fall wedding, and I said no, pick any day in the spring, and she picked April 8th, which happened to be the Masters weekend, which was also Florida State spring game that Saturday. So she got the last laugh, but at the end of the day, I'm not too upset about it.
Well, the spring game this week's going to be, you have no excuses. I mean, let's be real. I don't see you going either way because you're just a crappy fan like that. But the spring game this week, I believe, is going to be on April 20th. And so.
It's a late one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I've got a little beef. I got a little gripe. Do you want to hear this or not really?
Let's go. What do we got?
The show's kind of vanilla tonight, so the people can hear, the people that at least tune into the live can at least hear the gripe, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, so April 20th. So, yeah, the anniversary weekend excuse is not going to work this week. It's just going to be that you don't want to go. So
wish it was a pothead. I have an excuse, but I don't have an excuse.
Yeah. It annoys me that they don't do the spring game on the same weekend as a home baseball weekend.
Always.
For example, Florida State plays Miami the week before on the weekend of the 13th, right? So the 12th, 13th, and 14th, I guess that'll be. Yep. What? And maybe there's a reason for this. I've spoken with people close. I've asked them their thoughts. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I know that there are people at FSU that would like for this to happen, and there are people that cover FSU that would like for this to happen. Yeah, I think it would be cool if they – I remember 2014, I believe, there was a home baseball series that weekend. Jameis's second year coming off the national championship. I think that was the last time it happened. So it legitimately has been 10 years of it not happening, 10 years in a row. I'll give you, 2016 they played in Orlando, and then 2020 there wasn't one, but that annoys me. This year, I don't think there's a softball or a baseball. Usually there is at least softball. So this year, I don't think there's softball or baseball. And that annoys me. Again, maybe there's a bigger reason they do that, but it annoys me that it doesn't happen.
People make jokes about it, but I remember when I was in school from 06 to 2010, one year, it was amazing. We had the spring game, the home baseball series, and the circus was going on. And people make jokes about the circus, whatever you want. Guys, if you ever get a chance, go see the Flying High Circus at Florida State. It truly is. They're all students and teachers, and it's phenomenal. But we had all three going on in one weekend, and it's just such an easy thing. If you're Florida State, like, the logistics are not that hard. Make this happen. I agree with you, TJ, that there should be at the bare minimum a home baseball series. But if you can get a home softball series and the circus going on as well, I mean, you're gonna, just talk about what the boost to the economy that would be. Yeah, I'm on board with you on this one, TJ, 100%.
And I get logistics are tougher with more things going on. I understand that. I don't know. That's something that I feel like people have asked about for years and years and years and years. And it, for whatever reason, doesn't happen. But I wish it would. I think that'd be something that's really cool. I think a lot of people would really like it. I think that, I just don't love that. All right. So let's move to what we're actually going to talk about tonight, and not just me whining about the spring game. But anyway, we'll do something for the spring game. If you're going to be there, swing through. Harlan, you can clip it starting here. NFL Combine was this weekend, and I mean, just suffice it to say that Florida State absolutely showed out. We already did a video and talked in a recent podcast just about development, about Norvell, about just that in general. So this may get a little bit repetitive with that, but Florida State absolutely goes off at the Combine, and I thought they did a really good job. It wasn't just what they did, on the track or on the field, on the bench, any of that stuff, which we'll talk about some of that in just a moment. But people seem to be really impressed with their, the answers that they gave, the way that, Jared Verse and Keon Coleman and Trey Benson and different ones just spoke, and like some of the meetings that they had, which is pretty cool. Like, not going to pretend to be best friends with any of these guys or have any kind of insight into what their personalities are, but you do kind of like to hear that, right? It's not just all, hey, this guy ran really fast, but he's a jerk and an idiot. Nobody wants to be around him. Our guys seem like they're fairly likable, fairly genuine, fairly good guys. And that kind of showed through with some of what came out of the Combine as well.
Yeah, and we knew Jared Verse was going to be phenomenal when it came to the interviews. Same with Jordan Travis. Same with Trey Benson. Keon Coleman is hilarious, man. He just, the answers he gives it's just, man, he is one of one. He truly is. But yeah, we've all had those players, no matter what what school you're a fan of. You've had those players. You're like, man, this guy is a beast. But man, I'm gonna be really holding back when he does his interviews. You didn't get that with any of these Florida State players. There's nobody that you said, man, I really don't want this person behind a microphone. No, we knew what they would do on the field. And honestly, I was impressed beyond some by what some of these guys did on the field, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I was very comfortable with any of these Florida State players in their interview settings, whether it be with the media or behind closed doors with teams. I think they all knocked it out of the park. And, it's Mike Norvell. He's said for a long time, he looks for the right fit for this program. And, everyone, of course, every coach is going to say something similar to that. But I truly believe Mike Norvell, he's all in on that. And you're seeing it in this combine with 12 Florida State Seminoles. And, that's going to be the case year after year moving forward. He truly does believe in a true fit. That's not to say like there's this ultra 5-star player that we missed on. Oh, he wasn't a fit. No, we probably wanted him. But Mike Norvell truly does do his due diligence in researching these kids, getting to know them, laying the expectations down for them, and making sure that when they come here, the show just keeps running. It's been pretty phenomenal, TJ.
The speed is really what jumped off the charts or off the table, or however you want to phrase that. The speed is certainly what jumped out at people this weekend. Basically, everybody, with the exception of one guy who then did really, really well, everybody that ran was just like, the NFL Network guys and, all of Twitter and all of draft, all the draft experts and stuff, which is always a funny, word to me, draft expert, and they get like two guys right in the whole thing in the first round or whatever, was what everybody went off at, from Braden Fisk, absolutely going nuts and probably working himself up into the, solidifying himself, I think, as a day 2 guy, right? Like, I'd be pretty shocked if he wasn't. Fastest defensive tackle time. I mean, I and then everyone else too. Jarian Jones, Renardo Green, how about this? Every single Florida State Seminole that ran, with the exception of Braden Fisk, ran faster than Miami's 2 safeties. And so we were a little bit delayed tonight. That was because I was waiting on Cam Kitchens to finish his 40 time. So yeah, anyway, I'll get my dad jokes in here where we can. Thoughts on just speed jumping off the table or off the charts at people. Sheesh, learn the word.
Jarian Jones shocked me. Running a 4.38 official. That's ridiculous. And he made himself a lot of money. And he's not the only Seminole. You had Trey Benson 4.39. I thought he'd be closer to a 4.5 guy, but because I knew his top end speed was, off the charts. I didn't know he would run a 4.39. Kalen DeLoach did himself a huge service by doing a 4.47. Renaldo Green 4.49. Jared Versa 4.58 at defensive end at his size. Jaheim Bell 4.61. Braden Fisk a 4.78, but Braden Fisk 3 cone drill was faster than Aaron Donald. What these guys did, if there's an endorsement, and Coach Storms would never make this about himself, but my goodness, that is a huge endorsement for Coach Storms and Coach Norvell and what they can sell in the recruiting trail. You can say, hey, listen, whether it's the portal or high school, come here. These are the numbers we expect you to put up. We're going to prepare you to put up at the NFL Combine, and you're going to go from making, $8 million to $12 million or whatever the difference may be. It's just phenomenal what these Florida State players did. Thoughts on Jarian Jones, TJ? I did not see a 4.3 when he was about to take off.
Yeah, and he was phenomenal everywhere, right? Like everything he
really
did at the Combine was really, really good. And you talk about a guy who, in 2021, when he was here, a guy that like was very, I mean, he struggled, right? Like, I don't think you have to sugarcoat that. I don't have to be like, he would tell you that, but he came out and, what was so funny is like, he came out and said like, well, I'm going to prove everybody. I'm going to show it to you guys. There's a lot of people that are doubting me. There's a lot of people that don't believe in me. Like, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show you. And, I think when you heard that, you were like, okay, sure, buddy. Like, I'm sure you will, like everybody that has a rough year ends up saying that. And, but he did, right? Like, he backed it up. He absolutely did it. And really what he did over the last couple of years, and then now in the Combine, and now to where people are talking about like, oh yeah, this is like a guy that is going to go super high, a guy that's going to be very productive at the next level. His speed was, again, off the charts. I'll continue to overuse that phrase. Really, really impressive. And then, everything else that he was, able to get done during the, from cone drills to shuttle, everything else, really, really nice. And, you're happy for that kid too, because he did struggle early and, again, I never really, it's not like I was calling people out on Twitter or anything, but like, yeah, you were like, oh gosh, Jarian Jones, here we go. And then like, he ends up being like one of your, most solid pieces on the year. Renardo Green was great, at the Combine. He did a phenomenal job. And then, even Keon, right? Like, good night. Did you see the catch that Jaheim Bell made, the one-handed catch along the sideline where he got 2 feet in? Johnny Wilson was really good, ran really, really well, really good hands. Johnny Wilson, his wingspan is, it's a quarter inch.
85 inches or something.
Yeah, it's a quarter inch bigger than LeBron's. Shout out 40,000 points last night.
It's the
but
largest ever by a receiver in the combine history since
they
measured it.
Unreal. And then, Keon, who ran a little slow straight line speed, I saw his tweet afterward, like playing speed certainly outdid the straight line speed. He went up over 20 miles an hour in the what's it called? The gauntlet. Kind of where you're catching passes on either side. So, man, I thought he was, even the one guy who you'd say had like a down spot ended up having one of the more impressive, showings there on the gauntlet. And then everybody really loved him. I saw Michael Irvin with him. Shout out, Canes legends having to take pictures and do things with, people that are not Canes because they don't really do anything. But I saw Michael Irvin giving him some love. I, saw some comparisons that Keon was getting with other pretty elite talent that's come out and come through. And you mentioned Coach Storms. I agree. He'd never take that on himself. But if you look at like the people that are tweeting for him, he doesn't have to. Norvell's tweeting, built by Storms, and all the players are tweeting built by Storms, and the players are thanking him. And, so it is a testament. You don't have like a goofball down there with a funny mustache that's putting together funny Twitter videos, for your program. But you do have a guy who absolutely produces results. And obviously I think that's a little bit more important.
Yeah, 100%. And, I just love seeing it. Like when you have the NFL official Twitter account just tweeting out Florida State players and what they're doing in the combine, it was amazing. And, going back to Jerry and Jones, you touched on it, how he was doubted by many, including me. I don't remember if you doubted him or not, TJ, but I definitely doubted him early on. And he came on. And I forget if this was after the Florida or the Oklahoma game, but let me just play this real quick, Jerry and Jones, and I felt like it was relevant for this weekend.
Look, I'm going to start my interview off like this. I read everything that y'all were talking about on Twitter and everything y'all had to say about your boy. Y'all probably won't say that no more.
I just thought that was perfect for after he ran that 4.38. But yeah, everyone, like you said, Keon Coleman, I think that was the biggest surprise for me was the 4.6, 2 4.6s in the 40-yard dash, but then hitting 20.8 miles an hour, which was the fastest of anyone in the gauntlet. Man, I don't think there's going to be a GM that says, man, Keon Coleman, because he was never a burner, right? He's never a Tyreek Hill kind of guy. He's just a guy that gets separation, gets open, and makes tough catches. That's all he did at Michigan State. That's all he did at Florida State. And that's all he's going to do in what I think will be a 10-plus year NFL career.
Yeah. It'll be exciting to see some of these guys and obviously where they land and how they land. And, I'd love Fisk in Tampa. So we'll see
that'd be
kind of how all that goes down. But, yeah, we did all of that and didn't mention Jared Verse. So, who is going to be the highest draft pick of anyone. Absolutely going nuts on the bench, was really good on the 40, and he had a really nice day as well. So combine was fun. Kind of proves a little of the idea of development. Again, some of those guys, high school guys, some of those guys, Kalen and them that ran certainly high school guys, and then, guys who came in from the portal, guys who were here for 1 year, guys who were here for several years. And when they finish up, they certainly always credit Florida State, which is, take that to your local troll and tell them to suck it. So, all right. Next up, Richie, we haven't talked about this, but Harlan, you can cut it here. We haven't talked about this, but the NCAA is in some trouble right now. And maybe some hot water is maybe the best way to say it, where I don't really know the direction that this entire sport is going to go. My friend Allie, who we had on, here UF Week, had Andy Staples on, and she was chatting with him a little bit about it. I actually spoke with Sports Talk Jay. I don't know if any of you guys catch him here on YouTube or not, but I really like him as well. I feels like the entire NCAA is in flux right now, and it's hard to figure out kind of what's going on. And again, we haven't chatted about this on this channel yet, and you and I haven't chatted about it, but and I'll bring this back to Florida State here in a minute because Alex Adkins and the Florida State program accepted some penalties, but 30,000 foot overview. The NCAA was pursuing some penalties against Tennessee. Tennessee was under investigation, and the state of North Carolina and the state of Tennessee sued the NCAA, basically saying you can't keep college athletes from making money. And they got an immediate injunction basically saying that in all 50 states, the NCAA cannot enforce NIL violations, NIL-related violations, which is great news for Tennessee. And the judge has pretty much in that case said, you're not going to win NCAA. So it'll be interesting to see if the NCAA drops it, how it ends up finishing up, where it ends up going. But no matter what happens, I don't think the NCAA is going to be able to enforce NIL-type penalties, which is maybe great news for schools like Tennessee, Florida, Miami, who were currently under investigation from the Rashada, the Nico stuff there at Tennessee, and other places. What that isn't great for is Florida State, who just agreed to some penalties, scholarship reductions, Alex Atkins being suspended for 3 games, his 2-year show cause, scouting days and stuff like that. We kind of mentioned those aren't a huge deal, but Richie, we haven't talked about the NCAA here, and just what do you think ends up happening before we get into the FSU stuff? What do you think ends up happening with college football here?
I truly think so. The NCAA is basically powerless, right? I was surprised Florida State, complied with over a ticky-tack rule of giving a guy a ride in a car. Like, that's silly to me. The NCAA makes their money in the NCAA basketball tournament. That's what funds basically the entire NCAA. The revenue they make off that tournament. I truly think we're 5-ish years away from college football not being a part of the NCAA anymore. I just think it's going to be the Big Ten, the SEC, doing their own thing, so to speak. They already are, but they're going to be more so NFL farm league. And that's just the direction we're heading in, I think, because the NCAA, there's not a case that a Supreme Court, I don't care, 9 judges, I don't care what side leaning the court is, they're not siding with the NCAA. Whether it's a conservative or a liberal court, they are going to side with the athletes, as they should, in my opinion. I do think college football is going to break away from the NCAA. The NCAA will stay around and keep basketball because that's what funds all of these other sports. And if basketball broke away, that would suck, because then a lot of your Olympic sports would probably go away. So you hope they keep basketball. But in my opinion, college football and the NCAA will not be married, so to speak, 5 years from now.
What would be interesting, and you've seen the you've seen the Big Ten and the SEC kind of form this advisory committee. You've seen other things, other mechanisms start to be set in place. Richie, you remember when COVID happened? Like, the NCAA couldn't give any guidelines on that. The conferences were who held all the power and figured out, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to have sports this fall. Big shout out to Christine Brennan, who talked about that being one of the darkest days in Big Ten history when they decided to play football. Never mind the Michigan State, the Penn State stuff that ended up coming out as well. But Florida State was in a unique situation, right, where they got hit with some penalties, and the penalties weren't a massive deal. I don't think, as much as I'd like Atkins to be there, like, I don't think it's a huge deal that he misses that game. I mean, shoot, Michigan just won half their schedule without their head coach. Yeah. So, whatever. I think we'll be fine, especially with Norvell being an offensive guy and being able to call plays and stuff. So, but Florida State obviously had their own battle going on, right? And had a pretty big battle with the ACC that was happening. And so I kind of understand why they just settled quickly with the NCAA. Maybe didn't realize that Tennessee shout out to Tennessee. Haven't won anything in 20 years, but certainly stood up or 25 years, I guess now, certainly stood up and is going to be the cause that the NCAA ends up crumbling completely. Yeah. Maybe Florida State just didn't feel like they needed to fight very hard here because they were fighting such a big battle with the ACC too, like kind of, pick your battles or whatever. But I am very curious, Richie, if Florida State tries to push back on some of these penalties. Florida State accepted the penalties, so I really don't know how that would work. Yeah. But if they just say, like, nah, dog, we're not doing this. We're not, like, Alex Atkins is going to be in those first 3 games. We don't have a scholarship reduction. We rescind it. We're going to give out that many scholarships. And what are you going to do about it, NCAA? Like, what are you going to do? Alex Atkins is going to be on the sideline for those first 3 games. We're taking him to Dublin. He'll be in Doak on Labor Day night, and then whatever the next one is, Cal, right? He'll be there. He's coaching all 3 of them. What are you going to do about it? Because they can't, I mean, can they then put penalties on you for going back on your word? Can they, it would still be NIL related, so they can't. So I would do it. I just say, no, we're not playing that game. Screw you. You are powerless. You can't, I don't know. Talk me off this ledge.
We all have our very strong feelings towards the College Football Playoff Committee. But guess what? The NCAA has no power over the College Football Playoff Committee. So Florida State is one of the top 12 teams. Even say Florida State goes 10-2, right? Then they don't make it to Charlotte. It's just a crazy year in the ACC. They're going to be one of the top 12 teams. And even if Florida State say they earned a bid to Charlotte and the NCAA says, no, Florida State can't go because Coach Atkins said that. Well, the College Football Playoff can still say, cool, I'm going to bring Florida State in anyway because they're going to bring eyeballs. They're going to bring dollars. They're going to bring everything that we want. So the NCAA, I truly think in all sports, yeah, there's a place for the NCAA. In football, I think 5 years max. I really think that's it. And it might not even be that long. This is just pure speculation on my part, but that's where I kind of see things right now.
My counter argument to myself is essentially, I think athletic departments and programs are pretty risk averse. They try not to rock the boat in a major way. Like, I'm just some idiot on a YouTube show, right? On a podcast with a big Twitter. Like, I'm just some idiot, right? Like, what I say doesn't really have any impact on what happens at the university or not. And so I think athletic programs, athletic departments are pretty, they're not as fiery as maybe, your average fan on Twitter, but maybe there's a way that the NCAA can kind of come back and say, like, no, we don't have any power in this area, but if you guys go back on what you said you would do, we will try to push some of our power and some of our weight around. And is that the smartest thing for Florida State, who is going through a pretty massive fight right now with the ACC? I don't know. I think I would at least be exploring those waters, though. I think I would at least be exploring, like, hey, man, y'all got no power at all. You've had to basically cancel. Like, they have text messages of Jaden Rashada stuff, like with Billy Napier involved in everything. Like, they are implicated to the nines there. And they're going to, like, Florida's going to walk. Like, Florida's going to get away with it. Miami's going to walk. Like, they have the contract. The NCAA has the contract from the Rashada family. They were looking to take everybody down. And so if they're going to walk on that and Alex Atkins still has to sit out the first 3 games, we still lose scholarships because we agreed to a penalty right before they became powerless. I don't know. I feel like I'd be trying to fight back if I'm Florida State there. And is it worth, like, going off the deep end with? Probably not. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. NIL, in the day and age of NIL, scholarships don't even matter anymore. But if I'm Florida State, I'm probably trying to fight back a little bit on that. We'll see what happens. Let's give a little love to Garnet and Gold. GarnetandGold.com. Noslaw. NOSLAW. Hey, I heard, like, this week or maybe next week, very soon, you're going to have dropping the stuff for St. Patrick's Day. Make sure that you jump on that. Listen,
that earlier, TJ.
Yeah, you need to get on that quickly. Yes. Because I don't necessarily know that there's going to be a restock like in late July, early August. So if you're wanting some stuff for Dublin, whether you're going to Dublin or not, you're going to want to be wearing the green stuff around the time of that week 0 game. Get you some St. Patrick's Day stuff. Win it. You better hit it fast. Every time Tara and them post that white hoodie, it sells out like within an hour. I'm telling you, when they post the Ireland stuff, when they post the St. Patrick's Day stuff this year, it's going to go fast. So GardenGold.com, use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, for 15% off. I think if you order $75 or more, you get free shipping on your order. Whenever I've ordered in the state of Florida, I've always gotten my order within 2 days. I'm not saying you will. I'm not guaranteeing they're shipping.
It's Tallahassee Prime.
Yeah, it's so good,
Wait,
right?
but
You order on a Wednesday,
order in
they
the
send it
morning.
out on Thursday, you get it on Friday.
Yeah, order in the
So
morning. Like if you order in the afternoon, it might take 3 days. But if you order at 10 a.m., you're getting
always
in 2
yours.
days. Yeah.
So guardinggold.com, NOSLAW, NOSLAW. All right, this is one more that we had, and we will get out of here. Let me pull up the note real quick. Norvell's contract. Harlan, here's another one for you. Last one. Norvell's contract updates from it came out, were released. He's officially up over, I guess right at $10 million, but you would imagine that he would get some bonuses attached on even this year. So I think he'll be over $10 million in 2024. Yeah. $10 million in 2024. It goes up by $150,000 every year after that, taking him up to $11 million by 2031. I can almost guarantee you if he is still here in 2031, he will be well over that number based on other contract updates, what do you call it? Restructuring and things like that. So anyway, Norvell being paid like one of the big boys in college football. In fact, his last contract restructuring kind of already had him up over this, but I don't know if he's top 10 right now. I know he's highest in the state. I know that he's second highest in the ACC behind only Dabo, who does have 2 national championships, only one of 3 coaches active that has that. Thoughts on Norvell's contract and where we are with that one?
Yeah, I think he definitely benefited from the whole Alabama situation with Saban retiring and his name being floated around. But I'm all for it, man. At this point, you have a coach. Here's the thing with college football. You hire a coach. There's no such thing as a sure hire. Like Nick Saban was the one, very few sure hires, right? Like Texas A&M fans thought Jimbo Fisher was a sure hire. They just paid $70 million to fire the guy. Like there's no such thing as a sure thing. But once you've seen a guy in the program and things work out like the way Norvell has, yeah, invest in that, invest in him and keep him around and give him incentive to keep him around. I will say his buyout, if he were to leave, is very friendly to Norvell and Jimmy Sexton, which is expected. Jimmy Sexton runs college football from an agent standpoint, so I can't get upset about him. But yeah, I just think that was a really smart decision on Florida State's part. And I think it was a really smart decision on Mike Norvell's part to stay at Florida State and keep building what he's building because he knows what's going to happen. And I think the other thing that stands out to me, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Mike Norvell's not signing that kind of contract if he's not hearing, hey, 2-3 years from now, we're going to be in the SEC. We're going to be in the Big Ten. He's not signing that contract with the understanding that Florida State's going to be in the ACC for the next till 2036. Just doesn't happen. I think it's a great contract all around.
Yeah, no, I think, I've heard Pate say this. I know you guys have mixed thoughts on him, but I've heard several people say this. And the way that our season ended last year sucked, right? Like there's no way around that. There's no way to sugarcoat that. And there's no way to at least. But if there is a big at least, right? Like the thing that I've heard, and I saw Pate do, who are his coaches that he would say are next up to win a national championship, and he had Norvell in there, right? Like he had Stark and Norvell and Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Day, and that was pretty much it. Like he maybe had a couple other guys that he threw in there, but those were the big 4 that he had. And so for Norvell to be kind of mentioned in with those names, right, to where people believe that he's going to be the one, able to put Florida State back on top, right? And have them back nationally relevant. They just sent 12 guys to the combine, Richie, and they're still favored to win the ACC next year. They just sent 12 guys to the combine, and they still have the best odds in the ACC to go to the playoff. And so, that's what staying power is, right? We haven't seen DJ throw one pass yet in spring, and Norvell is still thought of as the guy that's going to be around and keep Florida State there. And so anyway, all that said, I think that, the fact that they were able to retain him, if they had lost him, right? You remember how tumultuous that week was. You had, everything that had happened from, still the bad feelings from the playoff and the snub and everything else. And the national championship had just happened. And so you were down on yourself again because you were like, man, I feel like we really could have been there. I mean, we could have talked about that more when we were talking about the combine and stuff, but I guess I'll give ESPN a break on that. But you had all those feelings and you were feeling, and then like the NCAA violations come out, and then Norvell's name is getting floated for Alabama, and you're like, yeah, if we lose Norvell right now, I may just jump. Well, I won't say that. I may just.
Everybody knows my wife is a big Alabama fan, and she really wanted him, but at the same time, she's like, honey, I really hope he stays at Florida State, because she knew I was on edge after that playoff snub. Did not care about the Orange Bowl one iota. Shout out Danny Boy Kane. But yeah, it's just, man, things could have gone bad. If Norvell had gone to Alabama, I don't know what this. We might have canceled the podcast, CJ, at that point.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. Nah, man, we showed up for Jackson State. We got this one too. But,
true.
But yeah, massive job by Florida State retaining him. And again, getting above over $10 million a year. I mean, that you want to play, if you want to play big boy football, you gotta play it, right? And you gotta, if you don't think, I mean, to me, it's fairly clear that Norvell is a top 10 coach in this sport, probably inching closer to top 5, but I think everybody would probably agree he's pretty close to that top 5, certainly that he's in that top 10, and what I say is, if you can remove like any UF or UM comments from it, I think the rest of college football would tell you like, yeah, he's a top 10 coach, right? You've got Kirby and others that are up there really high, Ryan Day and others. But man, I think that if you're going to play at that level, if you're going to play in that top 10 NIL space and that top 10, if you want to be in that top 12 every year in the playoff, then you need to pay like it. And so Florida State did that. And so shout out to them for getting Mike Norvell locked up for a long time. Man, I'll tell you this, Richie, if you can thwart off an attempt from Alabama to take your coach, I'm not saying that you're good to go and you're golden and you're clear everywhere else. But if you can thwart off an attempt from Alabama when Alabama's the team that got in over you with the playoff stuff, you got to like your chances of probably thwarting off just about anybody else as time marches on here.
Yeah, and I think Florida State sent a message, right, with this new contract, making him, a $10 million plus coach a year. That was a message saying, listen, y'all can try to come for him. I just don't know if he would leave anywhere. Like, I think the biggest concern would have been if Alabama had somehow got Sarkisian from Texas, and then Texas had gone after Norvell. That I think you probably should have been a little concerned about. But for the time being, I think Norvell is very happy in Tallahassee. I think his family loves being in Tallahassee, his wife, Maria. I just don't see him leaving. I think if he continues to have the upward trajectory that he's had at Florida State, he's going to be here for a while. Will he be a Bobby Bowden that's here for 30 years? I'd say no, but it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't if he continues the way he's going. But yeah, I just think his contract, it made sense. It just made sense, because if you weren't willing to do a contract like that, you're just not committed to playing big boy football. But Florida State clearly is.
You sent this, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but DJU in the game, playing NCAA. I'm sorry, it's EA Sports 25. I have to get that NCAA verbiage out of my mind, but that will be tough since that's what we called it for years and years and years and years. Are you going to get this video game, Richie?
Do I need to buy a PS5 for this?
Yes.
Like I can't get it on the Xbox One?
I don't know about that. Harlan might be able to weigh in.
This becomes like a $600 decision, and
correct.
That's not chump change. But yeah, I'll buy it. I'll do it most likely. No, man, the NCAA was my favorite game growing up. Everybody loved Madden, but NCAA, 04, 5, 6, 7. We used to have NCAA tournaments. I was actually the Florida State University campus EA rep, where I got all these EA games free, and the only one I cared about was NCAA. Um, but yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I will definitely buy it and play it. And shout out, I think some of these players. Hopefully, EA Sports does the right thing and gets the top guys in commercials and pays them more than just the $600 that everybody's going to get.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be really fun. I think there'll be like hopefully like really really good battles in content around it. I'd love to see some of these guys who are competitive anyway. But like, okay, so they did some of the Warzone stuff last year with some different guys, and like I just don't. I know some people love that stuff. Like I just don't care about like Call of Duty and all that.
Yeah.
Like shooters just don't do anything for me. I barely. I mean, I didn't even play them when they were happening. Like I'm such a nerd. I'll play like the story mode, but I don't care about like, going on these different maps and shooting and stuff.
Oh, I'll get on Fortnite and go nuts. So.
Yeah, people love that stuff, but I don't care. I would watch, like, you see how competitive, I know they're gone, but like Jared Verse and Jordan Travis and Trey Benson are like just on Twitter, like trash talking, who can run faster. I'd pay to watch them play NCAA against each other or play, college football 25. Like I would pay whoever it's going to be this year, right? Like whoever, like, Pat Payton or like Jackson and Farmer. Like I'd pay to watch Jackson and Farmer like play each other. You can't use FSU. You got to pick two random teams and go at it, or just two FSUs. Just both of them can be FSU. I don't care. But anyway, I think that'd be fun. So yeah, I can't wait for that to come out. We're definitely gonna have to do a tournament through like Discord or something, which I think will be a lot of fun. But all right, I think that's all I got tonight. You want some shout outs and we'll roll?
Yeah, no shout outs on my end. Shout out the Osceola Magic. I'm rocking the hat. I got my Mac McClung bobblehead. Just loving it. I'm gonna go back to another game because that was a blast. It was like $30 for tickets in the front row, so it can't for two of them combined. So cannot complain about that. But yeah, looking forward to the NBA playoffs. See what happens. But yeah, man, I'm just looking forward to Ireland, TJ. Like it's getting so close. We don't even realize it.
Yeah, I actually spoke. I've had a few people ask about this. Tailgating is not allowed in Ireland. Like that's not a thing there. But I have spoken with like 5 bars about trying to do an event there. So obviously you can just bounce around and hit bars. But since we can't do a tailgate, I've talked with a couple of bars about maybe doing an event over there, like I don't know, just like a meetup or something. Or maybe we can, I don't know, there's no cost involved for me. So maybe we just raise money for, everybody pitch in $10 and we'll give it away to the Battles End or something. Hey, that's a good idea. If you're not a Battles End member, thebattlesend.com, make sure you sign up and do that. But yeah, Ireland's going to be a lot of fun. If you're going, make sure you let us know. We will do something. I don't know what that's going to be, but I like that idea I just came up with. Everybody pitch in like $10-20. We'll give it to the Battles End. You'll be drunk in Ireland anyway, so you won't even notice that money being gone.
Because potatoes, no famine. Let's go.
Because there's no cost. We don't have to like a tailgate set up or cost or anything. Unless I guess the bar charges for like us to rent a part of the room, then there will be a cost. But shout out the baseball team 10-0. Yeah. Women's tennis actually swept today and men's tennis won today too. So and women's basketball won in overtime against Clemson. So baseball team 10-0. It would be really cool to get to 11-0 for obvious reasons. But off to their best start since 2019 when they started 12-0. So I think they got Florida Gulf Coast this week and then UF next Tuesday. So it'd be cool if they could continue rolling and then beat UF's head in too. So that's all I got. Oh, and shout out, Richie mentioned the NBA. Shout out LeBron hitting 40,000 points last night. Insane.
Shout out Caitlin Clark as well.
Anybody ever going to, I know nobody tuned in for this. I don't think anybody ever beats 40,000 points. I think that is going to be a record that stands forever.
Yeah, longevity. It's never be broken.
Like guys just don't stay in the league that long anymore. Like it is, it is certifiably ridiculous that like I don't have the exact stat in front of me, and I wish I did because I'm going to talk about it and don't have it. But if you took everyone else who's played 20 years or more, if you took everyone else's points that they scored at 20 years and beyond and added them up, they would be less than LeBron has scored. Like, that's crazy. Like, by himself has scored more than everybody else who has played that just for years like 20 and 21, not like their entire careers. But that's nuts. You know,
I don't like LeBron, so it is what it is.
Yeah, well,
impressive. I'll say that.
It is. It's absurd. It's probably one of the most absurd stats like ever when you think about it. It would be the equivalent of Peyton Manning like being able to like go out and throw 7 or 8 touchdowns like at the end of his career. Remember how bad he was at the end of his career? Like couldn't even stand up straight.
Yeah. And he got the ring.
That defense though.
LeBron is not getting a ring this year. I can tell you that much.
He got the midseason ring. He already got one.
No, Mike. Yeah.
He already got the midseason ring.
Not counting that.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll have some content that comes out this week. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, hanging out with us. Talk to you soon. Go Noles.